Thank you for coming to Guidepost. Thank you so much for coming to Guidepost. We are a place similar to this one right here. We point at places to go, but not necessarily places that are physical. We mostly point at well-being. So we are a guidepost, if you so choose, to go to grace, beauty, easiness, laughter, all of these beautiful states of feeling. So that's why the name Guidepost, trying to guide you to a state of easiness that is better for our health, for our evolution, and to better manage all the crazy things that are coming in this year, 2024. So, Happy New Year 2024, and I hope this is another tool for you to stay on wellness, grace, beauty, joy, easiness, all of these wonderful words that we want to live on. For today, I want to talk about the process of perception. We human beings are mostly a process. I am not Jorge, you are not Jackie, you are not Esteban. We are a process. Why? Because we are a trillion of cells. And those cells are being dying and being born, dying and being born. So all of these cells are dying and birthing, so we are changing. I think it takes around less than a year to change all of the cells in the body. So we are not the same cells that we were when we were born. So we are a process. The same thing happens with the beautiful migration of the butterflies, the monarch butterflies. They migrate from Mexico to Canada. But it's not the same butterfly that goes from Mexico to Canada. It's thousands of butterflies or millions of butterflies migrating from Mexico to Canada. And some of them are dying, and another ones are birthing and dying and birthing and dying and birthing. And the information is passed on that process. Maybe the DNA knows, the field knows, the universe knows, but somebody is passing that information, or something is passing that information to the new butterflies that are birthing. So it's a whole process that migrates from Canada to Mexico, from Mexico to Canada, on the monarch butterflies. So the same thing is with us. The same thing is with us. We are not the same cells that when we were born. We are totally different. And we change all of the cells of the body maybe close to a year. So trillions of cells in our body, trillions of cells, and 1 million might be dying right now in my body, but another 1 million is being birthed, and another 1 million dies tomorrow, and another 1 million is birthed tomorrow of all of the cells in my body. So we are a process. We have to see ourselves as a process, and this process today is called Jorge, but that is really not what defines each of us. Perhaps we are better defined as a process of perception. What we perceive, and of what we perceive that we keep, is what we become. So I am perceiving today stress, then I become stressed. But if I am perceiving laughter, then I become joyful. If I am perceiving happiness, then I am joyful. If I am perceiving easiness, then I am joyful. So we are a process of perception, and what is it that you are perceiving? And that is the point of the conversation. So be really choosy about what you are perceiving, because the things are going to be there getting to you. The planet, the world, the universe is just giving to you all of that information. And nowadays, you can pick what the news and the newspaper is giving you, or you can pick this other part here when you go for a walk and you see a beautiful plant and you see a bird and you see flowers and bees and rabbits and deers. So what is it that you are choosing? Because the universe is just bombarding you with information. News, political, war, everything, or go for a walk in nature and try to appreciate everything that is there. And then you are now being choosy on that aspect. What are you choosing right now? Are you choosing this or that? So we are a process of perception. That thing that chooses what to perceive, that part, the war, the bad news, all of the bad things that are happening, the fires and droughts, or do I choose to see happiness, joy, grace, easiness? That chooser is consciousness. Consciousness. I call it consciousness. You can call it a spirit, guidance, divinity, essence, God. So that consciousness is the one that is choosing this or that. So why do people choose this instead of that? The level of consciousness that you are allowing within yourself, are allowing you your divinity, are allowing you your essence, are allowing you your spirit, are allowing you your soul. So when you allow that non-physical part, when you allow that non-physical part within you, that spirit, that soul, that divinity, that essence is clear, is clean, is just joyful. And it will tend to choose what goes with it. Nature, beauty, grace, easiness, joy, certainty, all of these beautiful things. So why do people choose all this? Because they haven't allowed a spirit within, guidance within, consciousness within, light within. And that consciousness, that guidance, that light within is going to help you choose either go this way or go that way. But sometimes we have to fake it until you make it, okay? So if you feel like, okay, today I had a stressful day at work, really messy, got a really bad email, a really bad phone call, I really don't feel happy today. And when you don't feel happy, when you don't have that spirit within you, that essence within you, because we are all humans, and I've been there. So when that spirit is not within you, then fake it until you make it. Then go for laughter. And right now is not the time for me to call a spirit and to sit down and meditation and receive guidance. Just go for a happy show on TV. Whatever happy show you have there. That might be the moment to be looking at funny videos or something. That's the moment. Go for laughter. Maybe reading funny news. And there are sites for funny news. Not all of the news are bad. So you can go to a website that has only funny news. You are going to see that a bear got inside a house or something strange, okay? An alligator is walking across the street somewhere. So go for that. You can go also for, this is the month of February, the month of love. So February with F, you can go and find happy words with the letter F, just to keep yourself happy. And you can take walks, and on those walks, attempt to perceive the beauty of nature. Nature has so much information, so much grace, so much lightness, so much easiness. A tree is not making any effort to grow, it is just growing. A bush is not making any effort to grow, it is just growing. So when you are in these stressful moments, a walk on nature and look at the positive things. Don't look at the traffic. Don't look at the trash that is splashed all over the place, because the trash truck, when they were picking up the trash, they were letting all of the trash go all over the place. So go for the beautiful things. Usually is nature. A rabbit crosses in front of you, lucky. A deer crosses in front of you, deer encounters with a deer person. And butterflies, fly, creativity. So look at these beautiful things that happens when you go out in a walk. Change the point of perception. Change the point of perception to something that is positive, to something that uplifts you. And once you pass that stressful point, now then you can go now and meditate, you can go now and whatever process you have, whatever personal process you have, to call that divinity, that light, that essence, that beauty, that grace, that spirit, that soul. Now you call that grace, spirit, and it comes to you, and it helps you make choices. But the truth is, we are not connected all the time. I try to stay connected with that beautiful non-physical part, but I am not connected all the time. So that's where you learn to have your tools to get to a positive, better place. That part of having tools at your disposition is what Gudiepost is about, is giving you some set of tools for you to change from this state of mind to this other state of mind. And stress. Let's talk a little bit about stress. And because we are a process of perception, and our modern world is full with stress. What is happening nowadays is that we are living in a permanent level of stress, whatever that level is for each person. In the past, many years ago, if you talk with your grandpa, they didn't have that much stress, as permanent stress as we have today. They had periods of stress though, but it was temporal. It was temporary. It was temporary. Okay, a kid was being birthed, that was stressful, and then stress came down to zero. There was no food because something happened in the family. Then that time of no food, that was a bad time, and then it came down when the problem solved. They lost the donkey, and the donkey was the one that used to take them from here to there. Now that's a stressful point. Then you get the donkey, and the stress goes down. So people tended to have a different level of stress. So stress was not killing people 100 years ago or 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago. Maybe the lack of vaccines, the lack of medicine, that was killing people. but the stress was not there. What is happening today is we don't have that high stress, like, okay, we lost a donkey, and now what are we going to do? We don't have a donkey. How do we get to the village? Now what we have is maybe a little bit lower stress, but it's permanent. It doesn't leave. It stays there all the time. It just goes a little bit up, a little bit down, but there is always a stress. We don't get to zero in stress. I've been talking with physicians that had the opportunity to practice in islands in the Caribbean. Those physicians that were working in the islands in the Caribbean, in Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, they saw that the patients there didn't have as much chronic issues as we have here in a more industrialized society. They didn't have diabetes, they didn't have cancer, they didn't have high blood pressure, and they didn't have vitiligo as much. So those chronic issues were not there. Mostly people fell from a tree, or somebody almost got in the water and drowned. And so there were different issues, but the chronic issues that we have is not in those little islands in the Caribbean or in the Pacific. So the chronic issues are also because we have chronic stress. We live in stress all the time, okay? Is the mortgage, is the car, is the insurance, and is the next payment and the other payment, and when we finish with the payments, then comes the in-laws, my family, my kids, my sons, work, and work nowadays doesn't stop. If you are working online, all the time you are getting something from your office, either in the computer or in the cell phone. So the stress is basically making us sick. I would even say is killing us. Unfortunately for me, on the field that I work with physicians, I had the opportunity to see many physicians dying because of the level of stress. Personally, I met 3 pediatricians that already passed, and they just could not manage the stress. They had a good practice years ago, and then the insurance companies began doing these crazy new procedures to insure, not to pay. And then the stress level on these pediatricians grew to a level that they could not keep the practices open. So they died of cancer, the 3 of them in different times. So the stress is killing even the physicians. The people that is supposed to take care of our health is being killed by the stress imposed upon them by the system. Physicians, providers are dying because of the stress imposed upon them by all of this craziness that we have in our health system. So stress is not good for you. Permanent stress, continuous stress, that is not good for you. How do you get out of a stressful environment? That is the point of the conversation. So let's go back again to the process of perception. How do we change the perception? Recently, I was taking a walk on a park, and I saw all of these leafless trees. And I was like, the whole forest is dying. That's a bad perception. That is like, okay, if the whole forest is dying, everything around me is dying, then I am dying too. I was like, I have to change that perception. Then I began to see those trees are going to be green again in a few months. So I thought, the trees are resting and renovating. So I am going to take a walk just perceiving rest and renovation. And I began my walk. Lucky for me, there was a lady that was coming back and in that path, and I asked her, what is your mantra today for this walk? And she said something like, to have a beautiful day. I am just walking to have a beautiful day. I said, oh, good mantra. And she asked me, so what is yours? And I said, well, in this walk, I am going to look at all of the leafless trees, and every tree that I see, I am going to say, oh, you are renovating, you are resting and renovating, so am I. I am renovating, rejuvenating, resting. And that was my Sunday walk. I changed the perception. I began to see around me in that beautiful Sunday walk. A little bit chilly though, it was chilly. I had more than 2 coats on top of me. But I began to perceive a rest, renovation. If this tree is resting and renovating, I am renovating, rejuvenating. Oh, this other beautiful tree is resting and renovating. I am renovating and rejuvenating. And I repeated that sentence for a good while. 2 hours walk. So that is the process of perception. We have to change perception of ourselves, what we see around us. Was I in the same mood a week prior to that I had a really bad news at work? No, that previous week was really, really bad. I mean, nobody wanted to be close to me that week. But the next week, things got a little bit easier for me to manage, and I began to change the process of perception. You don't have to live in kumbaya all the time. But you know when you are out of your good zone to trick the system. Use whatever tool you can have, changing the perception. Mr. Jim Self, he's an author of a book, gosh, I can't remember the name of the book, but Mr. Jim Self has this method called the rose. It's a beautiful method. He recommends you to grab a rose and hold it at the end of your hand. And you just go around it with that rose around, and you say, okay, this is me, this is what is really important for me. And outside of that is just nothing that I have to worry about. That news is not my problem. That newspaper news is not my problem. That person out there crying is not my problem. That other person there asking for my attention is not my problem. It is only within this area that I have to concentrate upon. Do I have to jog today? Do I have to go to yoga class today? Can I buy a healthier meal today? So focus on that tool, the tool of the rose from Jim Self. Beautiful tool. I have used it. When somebody comes to my office with a big problem, trying to dump something on me, and I go like, okay, this is not mine. I mean, this is just my problem here. And with family, oh my God, with family it gets interesting, because you are not really that responsible for your kids. You've been teaching them tools, and they have to make their choices. You cannot pamper them all the time. You then have to take them in the car all the way to the place of study or place of work. You can give them some space for them to go and figure out how things work. So there is a saying, And that was another example. We had a patient at the office, and this patient had some back problems. And as he was talking with us, he said, no, I have to lift too many weights. I have to work to pay for this kit and this kit and this kit. So I am working all the time and I am stressed because I have to pay for all of these things for my kids. And then we asked, how old are your kids? And he said, well, the oldest one is 30, the other one is 25, and the youngest one is 22. So we were like, you don't have to worry that much about them. Actually, you don't have to worry about them at all. They are adults. You don't have to worry about them. What about my wife? Well, your wife is still healthy. She can find a job and enjoy the job. So your process, your duty is to choose the attitude of what you are dealing with. That's it. You only have to choose the attitude. Oh, you have to shovel here, this big pile of dirt from here to there. Then you begin shoveling and shoveling and shoveling and shoveling. And here is the shovel. What is my attitude? I can be upset, I can be sad, I can be just in a bad mood, or I choose my attitude and I say, I am happy, I am healthy. There are people that cannot shovel. There are people that have problems with their backs, problems with their arms, problems with sclerosis. So, I can actually do this beautiful job. And then here I go, and I begin shoveling with a smile, because what I choose is the attitude. That's what you choose, is the attitude. The things that are around you, they are always going to be there. The problems, the issues, the family, the money, they are always going to be there. But you choose your attitude. And with that attitude, the perception changes. And if you are changing the perception, now you are no longer in stress, or you can reduce the level of stress. And if you reduce the level of stress, then wellness, clarity, beauty, grace, divinity, essence comes to you. Thank you so much for being at Gudiepost with us. Thank you so much.